What up, world? You should already know who it is. It's your boy Ride Dog from oh, no longer the Mars Voltups. Year 4 in Skip Scramble, I'm doing my first official name change. Just a little bitter about the Chargers moving up to LA. I don't really listen to the Mars Volta anymore. So I'm going with a team name that's themed around the show Arrested Development, the show where we got the league name from. I am formally now the Alliance of Magicians. The only problem is that I didn't really think about the Yahoo character length when I was making that. I made a big tiny mistake. So you might see me on there. Don't be confused as the Alianza de Magos. It's just the translation for the Alliance of Magicians in Spanish. And hoping to make some magic happen this year. So yeah, year 4, week 1. I usually don't do recaps till a couple weeks in. But I was just wanted to get this year going. It's a big year. Got a new sponsor, Green Flash. Now I'm actually playing. I'm just drinking this beer. That's all I have. But we're going to have the same sponsors as last time. Tecate scraping at the bottom matchups, along with Four Local Presents Big Dog matchup of the week. So let's get straight down to business. Week 1. I usually don't do the recaps until week 4 because then you start to see the rankings of the teams. Week 1. You just have 2 blocks. You got the winners and the losers. So it's just basically 2 blocks sorted by points. Half the people win and half the people lose. So here to explain that in a little more detail is the Spotted Cock Tigers owner, Garrett. Garrett, can you explain to these people how it works with one team winning, one team losing for week 1?
That's right, Ryan, and it's a good question. So it's either 1-0 or 0-1. We call that a binary set of outcomes, winner, loser, victory, defeat. As an analogy, for example, my Pittsburgh Steelers, after week 1 are 1-0. Their opponents are 0-1. And that's kind of how it's splitting down the middle for teams in Skip Scramble this week as well.
All right, Garrett, thanks for explaining that for everybody. I'd also like to bring out the owner of Seagoat, Sam.
Yo, thanks for having me.
All right, so for this recap, I got 5 important questions related to Skip Scramble that I'm going to ask you guys, and I just want your feedback on them. Number 1, it's the question on everybody's mind. Doug has won 2 years in a row now. Can he win a third this year? What do you guys think? Garrett, we'll go ahead and start with you.
So Doug, he had a rough week 1, had one of the lower scores in the league, but in my opinion, his team is very strong. He got LaShawn McCoy, his first-round pick, and although he didn't score a touchdown last week, he was still his normal dominant self on the ground, and I think he's going to have some big numbers going forward, assuming he doesn't get injured. He also picked up Ezekiel Elliott in the second round. Looked like a questionable pick at best that early, given the news at the time. It still seemed like Zeke was going to be suspended for the full 6 games, but as of right now, looks like a genius move. Zeke is probably going to play the entire season and avoid suspension until next year. And the rest of his team is pretty good. Jimmy Graham's one of the best tight ends in the league, and I like Kirk Cousins. In my opinion, the obvious weak spot is his wide receiver 1 is T.Y. Hilton, and he's probably going to be pretty bad until Andrew Luck gets back. But I think Doug is very strong.
All right, thank you, Garrett. Sam, what do you think about Doug's team?
Well, he has the best kicker in the league, so that's always a sign of a strong team. I think it's a high-risk, high-reward team where there's a lot of picks that are a little questionable. I'm not really sure what's up in Washington with Kirk Cousins. They changed coaches, have a new wide receiver core. T.Y. Hilton's a question. I think Sammy Watkins could be a sneaky pick. He's on a contract year. He changed teams to the Rams, but their blowout win in week 1, maybe he's a good pick. I'm not really sure. But he has two titles, so definitely he's dangerous for sure.
All right, I'm going to have to say I agree with most of those points there. All right, question number 2. I have my eye on EJ this year. Every year, he kind of walks away from the draft with a pretty good team and just criminally underperforms. Gets hit by injuries a lot, kind of forgetful on his lineup. This year, I'm wondering if he can be a factor. What do you guys think? Is he in play for a playoff spot this year? Sam, go ahead and start with you.
Well, what stands out to me is that he has Aaron Rodgers, Le'Veon Bell, and Gurley. That's a pretty strong nucleus for his team. Golden Tate, he's pretty good. Bennett, strong. Seattle defense is always a good ceiling. But I don't know. He's a busy guy. Not always on point with waiver pickups or injury shuffles on his roster. Maybe if he cut the weed a little bit and studied, we'll see.
Garrett, what do you think?
Ryan, I think I agree with Sam's assessment for the most part. I think EJ has a very strong core. Sam mentioned that he has Rodgers, Bell, and Gurley. I think those guys are great. Obviously, Rodgers and Bell are very good. And I think Gurley's going to be a lot better this year than he was last year. He was really, I have a soft spot for Gurley because he really was awesome on my team 2 years ago. He had an off year last year, but I think he's going to have a bounce back, and the Rams look a lot better. His receivers are a little weaker than his running backs and quarterback, but I still like them. I think Golden Tate's got a lot of potential just to be a solid receiver the whole year long. And I think Jarvis Landry is actually the same way. Jarvis Landry went a little later than he has in the past couple years, but he's still a very solid receiver, and I don't think EJ is ever going to feel bad about having him in there. Sam mentioned waiver pickups. EJ is sometimes a little lax with his waivers and also with setting his lineup, but I noticed this week he did pick up Kerwin Williams, who's the immediate backup to David Johnson, and I actually think that's a good pickup. Everyone's excited about this new guy, Tarek, in Chicago, but I think Kerwin has a chance to maybe be the lead back. They're talking committee, but if he is able to replace DJ in any way in Arizona, he could work out for EJ.
All right. Thanks for the answers on that, guys. Speaking of Arizona receivers, we got to bring up the fact that Jill lost David Johnson, the consensus first overall pick. Jill has been known for kind of making sneaky pickups. Do you think she can recover from this?
So, when I looked at Jill's team after the draft, I thought she had a good team. I think I was talking her team up a little bit, and some of the gossip around the league was maybe it was strong, maybe it wasn't, but I was on the side that I thought Jill's team was pretty strong. Obviously, David Johnson was the best fantasy player last year by a wide margin, and it looked like he was going to have another great year this year. A devastating loss for her that he's out, and it looks like he's going to be out for a long time. And one of the problems with Jill's team is she doesn't have a lot of depth, and so I think this injury, whereas on some other teams that had drafted for value later in the draft, might be replaceable a little bit more. I mean, you can never replace DJ, but might have been able to patch it. I think Jill's going to have a tough time without getting someone good off waivers. Another thing, took Darren McFadden quite early in the draft, and it looked like kind of a sneaky pick, but now looks like a disaster given that Zeke is going to be playing the whole year. So I think it's going to be tough for Jill, but, I wish her the best.
Well, I like to look at the bench, seeing how you're going to deal with injury, and a quick scan on her bench. It looks like she's going to need another injury on another team. She has a lot of sneaky running backs. She's got Wright in Chicago, the wide receiver. So I think a little further into the league, she might have a good replacement for DJ, but as of right now, maybe a little thin. She's got a good defense. She's got Lee on the linebacker. Matt Ryan is a strong quarterback. Week 1 was pretty weak on quarterback, so maybe that helps her offset the point differential. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but yeah, I think she can do well.
All right, thank you guys for that. So, when I'm looking at the teams right now, I'm looking at 3 teams towards the bottom that have potential but just kind of had that wacky draft approach. I'm talking about Jesse, Brandon, and Derek's team. Which of these 3 do you think has the best chance to succeed and break out later on in the season?
Well, This is a tough one for me. I'm going to go with Derek on this. I think his team is overall the strongest of these three. He's got, look, he took Marshawn early, but it actually looks like it's going to be an okay pick. Marshawn has lead back duties on a good Oakland team. They have a good offensive line. So I think Marshawn Lynch is going to be decent. Whether he was worth the first-round pick or not is definitely questionable. After that, he picked up Dez and DeAndre. Dez is a little bit worse now because Zeke is back, but Dez is a receiver I've always liked. Assuming he's not injured, he's a beast. Could be awesome again. And DeAndre is probably going to be better than he was last year, and Derek picked him up in the 3rd round, so that could pay dividends. His running backs are pretty questionable. Joe Mixon doesn't look like he's going to be the lead back in Cincinnati anytime soon. And Paul Perkins, still a question mark. But overall, of those 3 teams, I got to go with Derek.
Well, I remember last year there was a lot of talk about Jesse's crazy team, and there was a controversy about Jordan Reed, and there was a lot going on. The longer the season went, Jesse's team turned out to be pretty sneaky, and he got off some good wins. So the homeboy Charger bolt-up strategy might prove a strong play.
All right. The final question. Between your 2 teams, which one is better? Whoever wants to sound off first, let me know.
Well, I'll say a couple things about how the draft went from my perspective. Sam was 13, I was 14, and I got to say, Sam snaked me really hard on at least 2 occasions. I do not know how Odell Beckham fell to the 13th place in the draft, but by the time he got there, I figured he was going to fall to 14, but Sam made sure that didn't happen. He picked him up at the 13th pick. It's still all right. I got Mike Evans, who I'm excited about, and I also feel like I got late, so that's fine. But I think Sam's team is quite strong. He's got probably the best receiving core in the league with Odell, and Michael Thomas is his 2 best receivers. Thomas didn't have a great week last week, and Odell hasn't played yet, but I think they're super strong. And the big one that's going to be talked about on Sam's team is he's got this guy Kareem Hunt, who obviously went off last week and looks like a steal, and that's the second snake. I was drooling over Kareem Hunt all the way down, and it looked like I was going to get him. Sam took him right before I chose him, so I had to settle for Amir Abdullah. So I think Sam's team's pretty good, but if I'm going to talk about my team for a second, I think I have one of the deeper teams in the league. I also have very strong receivers. Mike Evans, Demaryius Thomas, Martavis Bryant, and Willie Snead whenever he gets back. And I got Jay Ajayi, so see if he can put up those 200-yard games like he did last year. And I'm also hoping that I can get some luck fall my way. I'm looking for an injury to DeMarco Murray, so my boy Derrick Henry can step up and be my league-winning running back. If that happens, I think I have the strongest team in the league, but I think I still need an injury for me to fall my way before I can say my team is stronger than Sam's.
If we're going to tie it back to the binary theory that Tigers so eloquently explained to us, I have 1 win and 0 losses. Garrett has 1 loss and 0 wins. Statistics never lies. He does have a strong team with Ajayi. He picked up Cohen. He's got Kobe Fleener. He's got one of my favorite wide receivers, Martavis Bryant, who's back. But statistics never lies. I'm sorry. I'm going to go with the GOAT, the Sea Goat.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Week 2 is going to be big. Who's going to step up? Who's going to fall down? Check back next week and figure it out. All right, y'all. I'm signing off. Peace.